Hello dear chess friends and fans of the Croatia Bulldogs, and welcome to another recap video of the events happening in the Pro Chess Week 2020 season, Eastern Division of course. So today I'm going to take a look at the key games and moments of our second round match against Hungary Hunters, played last Wednesday, or that is Wednesday the 15th, I think, yeah, 15th, January the 15th. And unfortunately, I don't have many good news. As you can see from the score above me, we lost that match ignominiously with the score 11-5. But once again, I'll play the optimist and say that with some luck and uh, some, let's say, knowledge, the results might have been much better. And I think that the final result doesn't really reflect the true events that happened on the board. And I hope that this recap video will convince me to join my dark side. Okay, so we sent a stronger on the paper lineup than in the previous round. So instead of Sven Tica, rated 2400, we added the Czech Grandmaster Peter Michalik, rated around or close to 2600, to the team. While our opponents also put up a formidable team led by Czech top number one David Navara, above 2700 player, and also strong Hungarian Grandmaster Banusz Tamasz, also rated against 2600, above 2600, and then Peter Prohaszka, another Grandmaster, I think around 2600. A bit surprising was to see Miss Trang Trang, sorry, that I should correct this. I had it falsely during the whole stream, but my bad. So she was the lowest rated of all players in the Hungary Hunters roster, and it was surprising to see her playing. And I kind of hoped and maybe underestimated her. I thought that this is our chance to make some points, but the events in the match proved that it was not meant to be. Okay, so let's go to the actual games and see what happened in the match. Let's start with the first round game between Livaić and Banusz Tamasz. After some really nice preparation in the opening, Leon has managed to outplay his opponent and has gained a rather good position out of the opening, where you can see that here in the position he has an extra pawn. So he has 6 pawns, while his opponent has only... Okay. He has 6 pawns, while his opponent only has 5 pawns here. So Black's last move has just been knight to c4. And here Leon played the careless move rook to c1. He could have prevented the line that happened in the game with a move like knight c2 e4, simply defending the pawn on a3 with his queen. Alternatively, and more complicatedly, king to a2 could have been played, but here things is a bit more complicated due to a very amazing line I can't not show, and that is knight to a3. And now if white takes immediately, rook a5 comes with a great effect, but there is an amazing point here, and that is that white can take on h7, knight takes h7, and after king takes h7, now we take b takes a3. And the point is that now rook a5 is impossible, because if rook a5, we take on g6, queen takes g6, and we are probably winning in several moves. So yeah, that were the easiest defense was jumping on e4. But alas, Leon played a bit carelessly and he played rook c1, allowing the very dangerous sacrifice knight takes a3 here, check. After b takes a3, queen takes a3, black has 1 pawn for the piece, but his ideas include rook to a5, also rook to c6 and rook to b6, and it is very unpleasant, if at all possible, to defend this as white. After queen to d2, wanting to play queen to b2. In reply to rook a5, black played rook c6, threatening rook to b6. And now, probably the only move is king c2 here, but it is very unclear what is happening. And in practical game, black has a tremendous initiative, even though the engine initially does give zeros, as usual. But I think that it's really unlikely that white will survive this in a real game. Well, unfortunately, blundered immediately with rook c2. And after rook takes b3, rook takes c3, queen takes c3, rook to b5, check, it was all over. because if rook b2 is impossible because your queen is hanging and you're unable to move your king. So Hoang gave up his queen with queen to b2, and after rook takes b2, rook takes b2, white is nominally equal in material or only one pawn up. He has two rooks for the queen, but unfortunately his position and the weakness of his king is decisive factor, and the rest doesn't require any commentary. After some moves, black went on to win rather quickly here. So yeah, this was rather unfortunate here. This was a nice final touch where white resigned. The point is that if you take on e4, queen d3 check picks up this rook, and black is winning. So yeah, this was another heartbreaking loss for Leon, who kind of can't get his roller coaster going. He obtains very good positions, but unfortunately he either he doesn't convert them. And I firmly believe that once he starts doing it, that we will see a lot of points coming his way. Okay, so in the first round, Leon lost, as you have just seen. Tuan Minhue played a brilliant game and won, and Navarra, as could have been expected, beat Plencha. And the fourth game was between our first board and highest rated player Peter Michalik and their lowest board Hoang Trang. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering her name. Trang Hoang Trang. Okay, I apologize to Vietnamese viewers. Okay, so in this position, black has been pressing for quite some time, but then he decided to put his knight on this somewhat passive square on c6. And it is not clear where this knight is headed. If he goes to e7, white will probably exchange it and plant his own knight to c5. So he played the reckless g5 here, which is probably not very necessary. And after h takes g5, white could have tried pushing herself with something like queen d2, but being the lowest rated player and facing our highest rated player, she was probably content with a draw, so she played queen c1. And with hindsight, black should have just exchanged here and the queens and reached a probably equal endgame. But Peter started pushing or preferred to play for the win with queen a4, but with hindsight it was not such a good decision, because after knight e1 and followed by knight f3, this weakness of g5 pawn becomes a decisive factor in the position, and this queen is really sidelined here on a4. So after queen a2, knight to f3, this pawn is under attack. The only way of saving it is g4, but after knight to h2, queen to e2, queen to f4, this pawn is now just lost, and now suddenly black is completely lost. After bishop takes g7, knight takes g4, white is just a pawn up with superior position and with better pieces. And the game actually concluded quickly after queen e4, queen takes e4, d takes e4, knight e3, f5, knight to c2, aiming for the weak b5 pawn, e5, desperation, d5, knight to b8, knight to a3, f4, knight to b5, and knight d7, c4, knight f6, knight to c3, bishop to h6, bishop to e7, and f3, king f1. Here Peter decided he has had enough, because he will be unable to save the e4 pawn as well, and everything just collapses. So yeah, very, very rough debut in the Croatia Bulldogs team. A bit of an unfortunate loss resulting from the willingness to win, which I respect, but unfortunately that sometimes can backfire, as I believe all of us have experienced in our lives. Okay, so much about that game. So we were really down after the first round. We were losing 3-1. And the second round turned out to be very, very crucial. Tuan Minhue once again won his game. Leon and the other uncle lost to their strong players, to Navarra and Banusz Tamasz. And here we are once again will follow Peter's action, Peter's game in action. And it seems that he's turning into sort of a tragic hero of this round, but unfortunately it wasn't. It was one of those days where things didn't quite work for him. So we joined the action on move 19. White has just won the pawn on e5 and objectively has a technically winning position. But I will not dwell too much on the details of this game. You can find it in the post devoted to the round report with my annotations. But just to follow how it continued, White exchanged some pieces. In hindsight, he might have even kept the knights here, but maybe it was not yet so bad. And here he started playing a bit too passively. Here, for example, rook e7 was very energetic, intending to follow up with rook g1. But okay, not yet anything is spoiled. But here, for example, bishop b6 is also very active and probably good. But he played rook d1, rook to e8, and bishop c1, a bit very passive. And after subsequent shuffling, he also decided to put the pawn on f4, restricting this bishop, which is not probably something I necessarily like. And after here he probably committed the first very serious mistake, because after the exchange of one pair of rooks, Black's king will become much more active and will have much more freedom down the board. So he should have really, I think, avoided this exchange. And after this exchange, Black suddenly got a lot of activity and a lot of compensation, and probably now the result should be a draw. White is, due to the activity of this rook, his bishop is better and this pawn is weak, so it is hard to imagine how White should be able to win it. But they've continued playing, and they reached this point where White played this weird looking move, king b3, going away from the battlefield. He could have probably just defended this pawn with rook f2 or kept the king in the vicinity. But okay. It doesn't yet ruin anything, but maybe makes the life slightly more complicated, because Black could have maybe considered a move like c5 here. But okay, after rook f3, Black picked up the f4 pawn, and here he could have maybe played for rook h4, but I think that after rook h4, rook c8, the resulting endgame is just a draw after rook h2 and now rook to c6. Although once again, White is the one who needs to display some precision, I believe. So Black might have posed some problems, but okay, with king e6, rook g6, king to d7, king g7, king to d6, rook g7, and now king to c7, king b6, rook g7, king b6, rook g5, rook h4, rook g2. The game should be just end in a draw, but now amazing things happen. So after king c5, rook g5 check, king b6, rook g2 back, rook h3, king b4, c5, king b3, king a5. Here, White should have probably just shuffled his rook somewhere around here. He played king c2, and now allowing king a4 maybe was not necessarily good. But okay, Black didn't go for that. Black played b4, and here White committed an amazing blunder, in my opinion, just throwing the game in a way. The move he should have played is probably king b3. I imagine he was not certain what would happen after a move like king b5, threatening c4. But yeah, the point is that you can now play rook g5 here. I mean, even if you just stay passive like rook f2, c4, king c2, b3, you are probably fine here after king d2. It is difficult to imagine how Black will attack this b2 pawn. So yeah, you should have just stayed put. Unfortunately, Peter played c4 here, and overlooking that after b3, king to b1, king to b4, this pawn will fall, and now White just has a losing endgame. And the rest doesn't require any commentary. White went on to lose this game very convincingly after losing the h-pawn as well. And yeah, this was just the mating threats, and the technique was impeccable here by White and by Black. Sorry. So yeah, this was really a tragic loss. Peter was really angry after this, and yeah, this was one of those games that determined the outcome of this match. So after 2 rounds, we were down 6-2. The atmosphere was at its low, and with Navarra playing, it was really hard to expect that the team might come back from this. But still, I told them, okay, you can still fight. And unfortunately, some tragic events also followed in round 3 as well. So here once again, the Peter's struggles in the endgame continue, but although I think that at this point he was pretty tilted as well. So here we see that White has been pressing for quite some time. He's playing against Banusz Tamasz, I have to mention that. And White has been pressing for quite some time now, but Black has managed to equalize. And here he should have just probably retained the bishops with opposite colored bishops. Wait, okay, rook h6 is included. My bad, because bishop e4 would win on the spot. I forgot that detail. So yeah, here something like bishop f3 or bishop e4 check was sensible. He played king to d8, which is objectively not bad, but you know, in rook endgames there is always some margin for error. So after rook d6, king to e7, this is already the first imprecision. King c7 was a fairly easy draw, because after rook to d5, rook to g3, black just picks up this g4 pawn, and his king is close to the a pawn. So he'll just be able to make a draw. Unfortunately, he played king e7, which is first kinda imprecision, and after rook takes d5, king to e6, now rook g3 is bad because white takes on e5 with check, so it doesn't work. So after king e6, rook to b5, the move he should have now played absolutely is the move e4, or okay, maybe not immediately, but after rook a4 g5, now e4 was mandatory, and white is unable to reinforce his position. So yeah, instead of that, for instance, if he tries king to d2, you just play rook a3, cutting the king off, and it is not entirely clear how white is going to make some progress in this position. Unfortunately, he played king d6, which is the losing move here, and after g6, rook to g4, rook to b6 check, a6 was maybe even stronger because you can't take on g6 because rook b6 once again, but okay. Rook b6, king c5 now, and now rook to f6, and after king b5, a6, rook g2, king d3, black just resigns. This is completely losing for him. One of these two pawns is going to queen, and it is all over. So yeah, another very unfortunate and very tragic loss. Yeah, not the debut we were all hoping for, and I know for certain that it was very difficult for Peter here. He has actually, as you may all know, you might all notice that he has deactivated his Chess.com account, so I hope it is just temporary, but yeah, maybe he will recover, and I hope to see him in action in some other future matches, but we'll see about that. And finally, the last game I have prepared in this highlight overview, although this might be the tragedy overview considering the positions, but okay, I think these games are all instructive and are a good example of how difficult it is to win a one game, or in some cases draw a drawn game when you are under pressure and when stakes are high. So here the one last game we will examine is Leon's game against Hoang Peoni, or Trang Hoang Thanh. Once again, sorry for butchering this name. And here we have joined a middle game position which is a dream position for white. He has the two bishops, he has an easy attack on the king, he has space, he has everything. This is just a dream position. And white now has the move here. He can just play something like g4 here, but okay, Leon played h takes g6, h takes g6, rook h3, quite logical, knight f6, and here queen h4 was probably very strong, but okay, Leon played queen f4, knight to d5 and queen f3. During the live stream, I anticipated queen h2 with the idea rook h1, but unfortunately after something like queen d6, g3, f5, white's advantage is not as large as it could have been in the game. Instead of queen f3, queen g3, aiming for queen h4 was also possible, as just is in previous line. Leon played queen f3, and now after queen f6 he really made a surprising decision. I would really never exchange queens in this position, and I know I was bewildered during the live stream, although of course it is easy for me to criticize. So I think you should just avoid the queen trade with queen g3 or queen g4 even, or whatever. But Leon exchanged queens, queen takes f6, bishop takes f6, bishop e4, rook a d8, c4, knight e7. So now white still has the edge, of course, with two bishops and space advantage, but you know, black position is solid, his king is not in the immediate danger, and you know, with some time with c5 he might gain some counter chances. So yeah, rook hd3 was played here, and now king g7, preparing something like rook h8. And now probably the move that is very interesting but far from obvious is a move like, okay, maybe not first, g4, g5, and now a move that is very, very difficult to make is the move b4, fighting against c5 and also utilizing rook a3. But of course it is natural that Leon didn't play it. It's really hard move to make. He played the weird rook f3 move, which is not yet bad, but a bit suspicious. The point is that rook h8 now probably runs into rook f6 followed by d5. No, it doesn't actually. Okay, not sure what his idea was behind this. The line I was now looking was rook h8, rook takes f6, king takes f6, d5, but here e5 is just, oh, she wrote, I think. Yeah, my bad for not checking that earlier. So after knight g6, I mean, okay, obviously white can probably exchange the knight or draw in some easier ways, but Leon was playing for the win here. And after king c2, knight f4, you can see that things have gone a bit wrongly for white, although he can still fight, of course. But after rook h3, rook h8, he should just stay put, and maybe once again a move like b4 comes into consideration. Unfortunately, Leon blundered here with f3, rook h2, king b2, and now, so f3 was the fatal blunder, weakening the second rank. And after rook h2, f3, rook h2, king b1, c5, exploiting this pin and the weakness of the b2 bishop, and now suddenly white is unable to do anything. He will lose the d4 pawn, and Leon simply, probably he was so disgusted at his position that he decided to resign immediately. It was by no means a premature resignation, because it's really hard to suggest what white should do here. So yeah, after this third round we were losing 9-3, we have already lost the match, and yeah, only in the final round did we manage to draw 2-2, and the final score was 11-5. A bit of a disaster, but once again, since we are underdogs in basically every match, it is not, the losses are not as surprising, not that worrying, but the problem, a pity is that we are actually gaining good positions, and once again missing some chances and missing some opportunities to make half a points or even full points. And hopefully if we manage to fix that, we will be able to win some matches in the future. Okay, so the next match is on Thursday, 2:45 p.m. Central European time, or 5:45 Pacific time. I'm not sure how about the other time zones. So we are playing against, yeah, I actually don't know who we are playing. I need to check. I don't know from the top of my head. I think we are playing, yeah, we are playing the Istanbul Turkeys, for the Turkey Knights actually. So yeah, I hope I will manage to get out of work and stream this match, and I hope we'll be doing better. We are still running the qualifier lineup once again, and we'll see what will happen. So stay tuned for future events in the Pro Chess League, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you share it with friends, and see you in the future. Goodbye.